Hey everybody, welcome to What's Up Wednesday. About a week and a half ago, I was notified of an event that occurred, a tragic event that involved somebody who worked here at Intuitive Safety Solutions, and it really got me thinking a lot. And I wanted to talk a little bit about it on this What's Up Wednesday. I think that, part of our role as safety professionals, or just leaders in general, is to be prepared for unexpected events and also being able to anticipate risk. And that's not always easy to do. It's easier, I think, in the workplace a lot of times than it is when we're not in the workplace. But either way, it brought me back to the days that I spent with my oldest son as an assistant scoutmaster in his Boy Scout troop. Now, while my oldest son, Peyton, was on his journey to Eagle Scout, we participated in many outdoor events, camping trips, hiking trips, 50-mile canoe trip, bicycle trips, you name it, a little bit of everything. Plus we had summer camp and winter camp. And the one thing I found with the boys is, now maybe I should step back and say that in scouting, when boys get it, when they kind of graduate from Cub Scouts and Webelos and move into Boy Scouts, Boy Scout troops are boy-led, whereas Cub Scout packs are parent-led, meaning that the parents take a much more active role. Once the boys hit Boy Scouts, you have boys from the ages of 11 to 18, and they tend to lead their groups, their patrols is what they call them, or the troop as a whole. And what we try to do as leaders is to support them and kind of sit back and let the boys come up with a plan and work together, and the older boys teach the younger boys and whatnot. But I found over the years that I was kind of I was the not so fun assistant scoutmaster because I'm very risk averse, and I would predict or anticipate things that could go wrong, and I would take some of the fun out of their experiences. Now, going through that, it's kind of a rite of passage where they learn a lot with a lot of freedom. And I found that with the more strict scoutmasters, the boys would be maybe a little bit more predictable, and they would behave differently than if they were under the supervision of somebody who let them just go and give them absolute freedom. And, there are a lot of rules in scouting. You can't have a knife or you can't use an axe without, achieving different certifications that you had to carry on you, a totem chip as an example. But what I found was, the predictability of their behaviors and the potential for accident are things I think just in general that we can pay attention to, and we should. And unfortunately, we run into situations, it happens once, twice, hopefully not more than that in our life, where we come upon a very tragic event. It could be a fatal car accident. It could be an unexpected event that occurs that results in a major catastrophic loss of life. And when we have those things happen to us, we second guess ourselves and think back of all the things that we could have or should have done differently. And the reality is 9 out of 10 times, more than that, it's not our fault and we couldn't have done anything differently. And even if we did, it may not have changed the outcome. But ultimately, I think that the point I'd like to make when I reflect on this specific situation, as well as other situations that I've experienced in my lifetime, are that we need to be able to take in a scene, a situation, and we should always be thinking about what's going on, watching and identifying potential risk. And even though we may not be the most fun people in the world to be around, we have an eye for predicting potential bad outcomes, accidents, incidents. And I think that is a learned skill. And I think it's also something that we're taught, and we've mastered it beyond the average person who doesn't deal with this on a daily basis. But I think that the one piece that we can control is, within reason, predictability, warning signs, leading indicators of behaviors that could result in something going wrong. Now, this is a given in the workplace. It's a little more challenging outside the workplace because we may not have the same level of command and control, if you want to call it that we would if we're coaching baseball, participating as scouts, going on a fun event with some friends, whatever it might be. But, having that eye for and being able to predict, and then not being afraid to say, I think you should probably think about getting away from there, or I would recommend not going that way. Why don't you try this direction? And getting in the habit of doing those little things that could prevent something that you see as a potential threat or an accident. And really learning to exercise that little voice in your head that says, hey, for whatever reason, I feel like I need to say something in this case. And I think the more that you do it, the more natural it becomes, and the less nosy it becomes, if that's the right word for it, because you are kind of nosing into somebody else's business. And again, you may not always be that fun guy or gal, but at the same time, you may prevent unexpected events from occurring. Now, on the flip side, when an accident does occur, again, chances are there's nothing you really could have done. And you can't blame yourself for it. You can't hold yourself accountable, because things do happen. And it's like I said, we can't live in a padded room. We can't walk around in a bubble. The reality is that bad things are going to happen, and lives are going to be lost due to these tragic events. And there's just really nothing that we can do. So I would say that we focus on the one thing, which is keeping our eyes open, paying attention, observing, and not being afraid to say something if we do see something. So hopefully that resonates with some of you, and we'll have a new topic for you next Wednesday. We'll see you then.